this is Brian Cummings in Cudahy, Wisconsin, and he's going to tell us a story about taking Cardinal Dolan on a tour of Milwaukee. So
Yeah, okay.
Could you start with...
So, it was back when I worked for Slim, and Archbishop Dolan, now Cardinal Dolan, was just announced that he was coming to Milwaukee from, I believe it was St. Louis, to come to Milwaukee and become the Archbishop of Milwaukee. And so Kelly Ambrose, who was a regular at Slim's at the time, worked, I believe, for the Bradley Foundation. And he asked me, he's like, hey, I have a historian coming with us and Archbishop Dolan coming, and I want to give him a tour of Milwaukee. This was at Slim's, so I asked Slim, he's like, definitely, let's do this. We'll use a shuttle. We have a shuttle, and these are shuttles, brewer shuttles that take a mass amount of people to the brewer game, so they're not pretty in any way, shape, or form.
Was that historian John Gerda?
Was that?
Was that historian John Gerda?
John Gerda was also with us. Yes,
okay,
I
yes.
believe it was John Gerda. Yes, and it would be Kelly Ambrose, and then John Gerda, and there was a couple other historians. So there was one, Jimmy Cooperschmidt, who I knew, and he was a brewery historian. So he knew all about the breweries of Milwaukee, and he went with us too. And he was a character and a half too. Unfortunately, he passed away of cancer a few years back. My job was to shuttle everyone around, and so like I said, we had these shuttles, and we had one bench that nobody was supposed to sit on because it was just a bench where we would put like backpacks or coolers underneath, and nobody was supposed to sit there. But anyways, we went and I went to go pick up Archbishop Dolan first, and then make my way down to Slim's, and then everybody else met at Slim's. So Archbishop Dolan came in, and then everybody talked to him. And I don't know if you know him, but he's an amazing speaker. And he's very witty, and he's super articulate, and he's very smart, and knows pretty much a lot about everything. Anyways, we picked up the group from Slim's, and we started the tour. But when I picked up Archbishop Dolan at his house at the seminary, went in. He's like, "Come on in. I'm just getting ready." Introduced himself. I introduced myself, and being a bartender, he's like, "Come on in. Make yourself at home. Grab yourself a drink." And I'm like, "Well, I'm driving, so I won't." But I opened up his refrigerator, and he had all Budweiser in his refrigerator, and I was like, "Well, we're gonna have to change that right away." And so that was a big joke the whole day was, turning him from Budweiser to Miller products, But we went and took him through the city, and we had John Gerda on one side talking about the history of Milwaukee, which was very fascinating. And we also had Jimmy Cooperschmidt. We went to a couple of the areas where the breweries were built in Wisconsin or in Milwaukee, and I couldn't believe how many breweries were actually here at one time. There were so many. I mean, we have a lot of craft style breweries, microbreweries in Milwaukee now, and we probably had a tenfold of breweries back then. And, there was so many. But that was a great time. Then we went through Milwaukee and did the tour, Lakefront, Calatrava, all the great things. But at one point we went and walked for a while, and it was along the lakefront and by the Calatrava and everything. And he got back into, Archbishop Dolan got back into the bus and sat on the bench, and he fell over. And I'm sure that my expressions were just red-faced, embarrassed, apologies, 100 apologies. And he's like, I help him up, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I told everybody not to sit here. I don't know if I told you not to sit here. You know, I couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my God, I really. The only thing he said, he looked at me, he started laughing. He's like, now I really need to lose weight. And that was the only thing he said. And then he kind of pat me on the back, and he was like, I helped him up. And we got him to the chair. He sat down, and it was great. One thing about him too was we got back to the bar, and he sat and went around tables and talked to people. And some people weren't very nice about it. And the way he conducted himself, when people were saying some bad things about the Catholic religion and everything else, and he was so articulate and unbelievably kind to everybody, even the ones that were saying pretty nasty things. And I thought that, I looked at that, I was just like, unbelievable how he could go and sit here and listen to some baloney and not get offended by it. But I do have a picture in the corner over here of Archbishop Dolan and he's tapping a beer, and so that was kind of neat. So that was a very fond memory of me being in the bar business.
All right. Well, thank you. That's a great story.
Perfect.